Casey Shepherd, health coach here, bringing you guys more information and education always so that you can continue to empower yourself. The more you know about your body and different things that are going on, the more you can dive deeper and continue to make better choices and become healthier for life. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about other lab values that can be off with thyroid. And a lot of people just see thyroid as 1 or 2 tests. Thyroid panel is actually 7 to 8 tests in total. And the problem is that a lot of people have suboptimal thyroid levels, but they will still be in range, which can just make it really hard to diagnose an actual thyroid condition and see what else is off. So I like to look at a bunch of these other tests to really determine, especially if someone's not like blatantly hypothyroid or blatantly Hashimoto's, to really see what's going on in the body and how else we can further dive into healing their system. So like I said, there's 7 or 8 panels that should be done just for the thyroid test alone. Majority of doctors aren't even doing them all. They may do 1 or 2. So that off the bat should be something that is done. Even if you can see clearly that the TSH is high and elevated, it doesn't really show us exactly what's going on until you do a full panel. That really helps a lot in knowing how to treat the thyroid and what steps need to be taken. So those all should be done. But what I really want to focus on is other levels off the thyroid panel that can be off, that do also indicate that some other thyroid things could be off, even if you're not seeing those lab values in the thyroid panel. So first one I want to talk about is estrogen or estradiol. There are 3 different kinds of estrogen in the body. Estradiol is the highest one and the most common, especially for pre-menopausal women, but even in men can have their estradiol levels elevated, and that is one of the values that I do tend to see can be elevated in people who have hypothyroid or Hashimoto's. The thyroid plays a huge role in clearing estrogen from the body. So if people have an elevated estrogen level and they may have some thyroid symptoms, that is one of the things that I will tend to see can be off in a lab value. Now, one of the problems is even if I have women who have a hypothyroid condition or a Hashimoto's, their estradiol level might be reading kind of normal, but a total estrogen is not typically run in most panels. I don't even run that level. And that's going to be more of your xenoestrogens or your toxins that are in your system. And that is kind of what tends to be the harder time to clear. Estrogens cleared through the liver and our lymphatic system. If you have a sluggish thyroid, it can be hard for the body to detox correctly. I see a lot of women with very heavy periods who have hypothyroid issues, a lot of cramping, and just really high levels. But even in men, estradiol can be elevated if you have a hypothyroid issue. So that is one level that I will see. And along with that is the progesterone level. Progesterone would be one of those things that could be a precursor to having a thyroid issue. If you had a lot of stress in your life that triggered not having anovulatory cycles, meaning that the stress affected your body so much that you didn't ovulate, in which case then you didn't have a surge in LH that then increased your progesterone levels. Women who aren't ovulating tend to not have progesterone because of that reason. And progesterone does help to balance the estrogen dominance in the system, as well as clear estrogen from the body. But progesterone is also a precursor to thyroid hormone. So not having progesterone to begin with can cause a thyroid issue, or a stress imbalance in the body can shut off progesterone receptors that can affect the thyroid. And the estrogen levels, you kind of see how things start to really be correlated and connected into a woman's body, which is why it just becomes more complicated, and you have to know kind of the down trickle effect of how everything is correlating with each other to know really how to treat it, and other things that also need to be managed at the same time as the thyroid, especially when you're going to start treating the thyroid. So the progesterone is another huge one that I can see off with women. The other one is cholesterol. Tend to see a total cholesterol level or an HDL level being elevated in women with hypothyroid or Hashimoto's issues. And a lot of people just don't associate it, but I tend to see those lab values of cholesterol come back down once the thyroid is properly treated. So that is another interesting one that a lot of people don't really realize. If you're not getting the right treatment for your thyroid and you tend to have elevated cholesterol levels, you may not even have a family history of it. That is just something else to consider. Liver values can be off in people with thyroid levels. T4 is converted to T3 in the thyroid. We need proper minerals and nutrients. We need to be breaking down things properly in our bodies to be able to have those minerals and nutrients to convert properly. But if you have estrogen dominance, if you have other things going on, sometimes the liver isn't functioning correctly to be able to convert it. That's why just supporting your liver with healthy fats and other bitter foods is very important to keep that conversion up and working properly. And the detoxification pathways open so that it can clear estrogen, so that T4 can convert to T3 in our liver. And so sometimes I will see a liver value that is elevated if the liver does need some support. And in which case we know that maybe the thyroid in general just might not be functioning as well because it's not maybe converting as it should or as much as it should be. So the liver values are another one. Another thing I tend to see is, and this is not really a test that we can be done, but lower stomach acid. If you have a thyroid issue, you most likely aren't producing enough enzymes and stomach acid to break things down. And so I see a lot of malnourishment in the system, which is my next point. Protein on a blood test is one that I really look at. If you have really low end protein or suboptimal protein levels in the body, typically means that you're not making enough stomach acid to break down the proteins that you're eating. A lot of people over time tend to steer away from eating heavier meats because they don't break it down well, which then in turn leads to lower protein values and a lot of other issues in the body. But even if you are eating optimal protein levels, but you're not breaking it down well in the system, you might have lower stomach acid production, which could stem from a thyroid condition. You know, I see it all the time. If you have thyroid issues, you have bloating, you have digestive issues, this is one of the number one reasons is a lack of stomach acid production, bile flow, stemming from the thyroid condition. So one or the other can stem. Stress can trigger lack of HCl production, which then can lead to a thyroid issue and vice versa. So most people that have thyroid conditions need some sort of support when it comes to their digestion to get their nutrients up. I see across the board malabsorption with B12 or magnesium or zinc or all these other vitamins that might be easily absorbed. You might even be taking a multivitamin or some vitamins that still aren't absorbing because you're not breaking them down properly. Most of the time, it's just because you're taking a crappy supplement, you're not taking good quality stuff, but a lot of times too, it's just that you can't break it down and even absorb it well. Your gut's gone to crap because you have all this yeast and bacteria now that's proliferated from your thyroid issue, then you're not breaking stuff down on top of it. So it just starts to completely spiral. And that's why people don't think that thyroid is as big of a deal, but it really can truly lead to a lot of long-term health issues. So hopefully you guys have a better understanding of maybe the deeper dive into health with the thyroid, other things that can be off, other things that can be triggered. If you're experiencing any of these things, even if you're on some sort of levothyroxine or Synthroid, or you're on a thyroid medication, but you're still not feeling normal, sometimes the lab values itself and the thyroid don't give us the full picture, and your body's having other issues because of what it was going through before that it needs support with. So take a look for yourself, comment below if you yourself have struggled with any of these things, or if you're still working through any of this stuff. Work with people all across the country, diving deeper, holistically. I use integrative medicine. We want to take a little bit of the Western medicine approach of, using the lab work and, medication if we need it, but really supporting the body in its natural production and supporting it into doing what it's supposed to so that it can continue to work on its own. So subscribe to my channel, keep liking my videos, commenting. If you need any help or support, my email is below, all my social media stuff is below.